Okay, so today we're going to be folding around the core. So lie on your backs, please. And if it's comfortable for you, lie with your legs out long and your arms to your side. If for any reason having your legs long puts a strain on your lower back, then take care of yourself. Find a position that is comfortable, often with the knees bent, especially at the beginning of a lesson, is easier for the back than having the legs long. And begin to just experience yourself here, lying on the floor, and notice, without changing it, how you're breathing. And of course, I personally find that to be a trick question, because as soon as you notice something, change begins to happen. The act of observing and becoming your own observer creates change. But as you observe yourself in breathing, notice how much of your body feels the results of the breath, filling the lungs and emptying from the lungs. The diaphragm contracts downward. It draws downward towards your guts to draw the air in to your lungs. Your lungs fill, your ribs float on top and in the sides and in back of your lungs. How soft can you make your inhalation and exhalation, allowing the rest of your trunk to feel the movement happening in your belly, in your chest, in your back. And intentionally begin to draw your breath as if you're able to draw your breath down into your lower belly. And just gently place your fingertips just a couple of inches below your belly button. So the palms of your hand might kind of be resting on your sides, your waist, or even the front bones of your pelvis. And your fingertips are just resting on your lower belly. And just notice how much does your belly rise and lower. And imagine that you have a balloon placed inside your pelvis, beneath your fingertips. And with every inhalation, that balloon is filling. And it's expanding into your fingertips, into the sides of your pelvis, towards your sacrum, and back of you. And as you exhale, it's emptying, and the air is coming up through the center of your trunk, through your neck, through your head. And for the sake of this visualization, rather than drawing the air through your nose or mouth, imagine that you're actually drawing the air through the top of your head, drawing it in and down and filling your lower belly and emptying it out. And as the air empties out your trunk, out the top of your head, what image comes to you? I always imagine sort of a fountain of air coming out to the top of my head, but you may have a different image. And then a couple of times, very intentionally, press your belly out as you breathe in and suck it in as you breathe out. And then try doing it the other way, sucking it in as you breathe in. Notice what happens in your chest, and pressing it out as you exhale. And then just let it go. And just let the breath flow naturally in and out. And throughout this lesson, let that awareness of the breath in your belly be the backdrop. And gently bend your knees up one leg at a time so that your feet are standing in a solid, firm, and supportive place on the floor, about hip width apart. And really listen to your hip joints. Are your knees well balanced over your feet, or do they want to fall in or out? Find as good a balance as you can with your knees. And bring your attention back to your breath, your inhalation, your exhalation. And gently take your time and lift one leg up and set it back down. And notice the influence of just lifting your leg up on your belly. Can your belly stay soft and full with the inhalation and the exhalation? Or do you restrict the muscles somehow? And just try that on both sides. And then just rest your feet back down. And then bring your right knee up and hold your right knee in your right hand so that your hand is just below your knee, coming out from the side. And if it's difficult to hold your knee, you can imagine it, or you can take a pillowcase and wrap it under your knee and hold the pillowcase. And then bring your left hand behind your head. So you're sort of cradling the lowest part of your skull in your hand. And begin gently drawing your elbow in the direction of your knee. So you'll lift your head up with your hand, and it might look like some idea of a sit-up, but remember, this is Feldenkrais. So any ideas you start having about sit-ups, just let them go and explore the experience of gently bringing your elbow up, letting your hand begin to lift your head, and feel what's happening in your chest. What needs to happen in your sternum, in your ribs, to begin to draw your left elbow towards your right knee. And again, if this is a difficult configuration for you, you might just hold your hand behind your head and just imagine. You can just imagine or initiate all of the preparatory movements without actually lifting your head or drawing your knee up. There is no right and wrong. There's just the exploration. And notice what's happened to the background of the breath. How do you integrate the smooth flow of the inhalation and the exhalation, the gentle expansion of your lower abdomen with the inhalation, while bringing your elbow towards your knee? Not to touch your knee, but just to experiment with that configuration. And if you're keeping your abdomen soft, your breath full, is there any place else that you're tightening or working? Is your jaw tight or your eyes squinted? And then just rest your arm, rest your leg. You can keep your knees bent or lower them down long. And just begin to feel the influence of these first few movements. We're influencing sensation for the purpose of learning to focus the mind. We're altering sensation. We're changing movement patterns to free up the way that your mind has habitually directed the movements up until this point. So what has changed? A couple simple movements, elbow towards the knee, lying here resting. Is anything beginning to change in your breath? Do you experience your right leg any differently than your left leg? And notice also the length of your spine as you lie here, from the tip of your coccyx to the base of your skull. And then again, bend your knees up, please, one at a time. And come into the same configuration with your right hand holding below your right knee and your left hand behind your head. And this time, as you draw your elbow in the direction of your knee, each time point your elbow to a slightly different place on your knee. So notice the first place. Is your aim, do your eyes tend to think about a particular spot on your knee that you're focusing in the direction of? And change that spot, maybe the outside of the knee or the inside. Maybe actually aim it down more towards the foot. And each time you aim your elbow to a slightly different place, feel how different the folding is. What happens differently in your chest, in your ribs, in your neck, as you change the direction of your folding. Rest whenever you need to. Listen to your body. And notice as you aim your elbow towards your knee, where is your chin going? Does your chin lift up towards the ceiling, or does it drop down towards your chest each time you lift up? And just try that. How is that different? Raising your chin more towards the ceiling as your head lifts up versus tucking it down towards your chest. Again, feeling when you try these variations, what happens in the ribs? We've talked about this before, but do you have a rib cage? Are you developing a rib accordion? Are you taking the next step? Does anybody know what the next step is? The rib slinky. So if you had something attached to one end of the slinky and you were aiming it towards something on the other end, think about your ribs in that way. What are their potential for movement? If you're dealing with a rib cage, you're going to have to work really hard to bring your knee and your elbow towards each other. But as you soften into your authentic slinky, more and more options become available. And then again, just rest your head and your leg. Really listening. Again, this is not a repetitive sit-up exercise to develop your core. However, as you lie here, you may begin to notice different sensations becoming available in your breath, and how your breath influences your core. If you think about that balloon in your abdomen, as it expands, it touches the back side of the abdominal muscles. It touches the front side of the back muscles, the psoas and the iliacus. It touches the top side of your pelvic floor muscles. And it touches the underside of your diaphragm. These are not areas that we bring our awareness of sensation to frequently. Most American awareness goes about as far as the dream of the six-pack abs or the lack thereof. And most of us are in the other category. So again, bend your knees up one at a time, please. And this time bring your left hand to your right knee and your right hand behind your head. And just very gently begin the same exploration of drawing the right elbow towards the right knee. But don't get there. If you're mobile enough that you can easily touch your knee, for sure, don't get there the first time. Feel, what does it take? If your elbow and your knee are mobilizing and coming towards each other, what is stabilizing? Where is your stability? How do you use the floor with your back, with your left leg, so that raising the knee and the elbow is easier and lighter, more and more effortless? And where's your breath? And then as you continue the exploration, begin bringing or aiming different parts of your face towards your knee. So you might aim your chin to your knee, your right or left cheek, your ear, your eyeball, the inside of your eye as opposed to the outside of your eye, all for the purpose of noticing differences, the subtle differences in organization that just aiming different parts of your face towards your knee creates. Resting whenever you need to, returning to the exploration. How do my ribs bend and fold and turn this time? And this time? Does the support of my left foot change? Are there different ways to lift your head with your hand? And where is your breath? Where is your jaw? Is your focus really distinct if your eyes were looking at some point in your knee, or is it diffuse? Is it feeling the whole of yourself? And rest. Rest your leg down, rest your arms down. Rest the sensations of your breath. How much of your body feels the influence of your breath now? What does your abdomen know of your inhalations and your exhalations? Does the right side of your chest feel the breath, feel the expansion of your lungs any differently than the left side of your chest? Do the ribs on your sides feel any different, the right side and the left side? I've been doing a lot of folding towards the right knee. So how has that influenced the experience and the differences that you sense in your trunk? And then again, please bend both your knees up. Feel your breath filling and emptying the imaginary balloon in your pelvis. Maintaining the easy flow of the inhalation and the exhalation, bring your left knee up into your left hand and your right hand behind your head. And start with just imagining what is it going to be like? How are you going to use the floor to prepare the elbow to be drawn towards the knee? To prepare the elbow and the hand to lift the head up with it. And see if you can begin to engage in all the preparatory actions so that maybe your elbow comes up, but you just take the weight off your head without actually lifting it up. You just begin to initiate drawing your knee together. You feel how you're using the floor beneath you to stabilize for the movements that are going to occur in drawing the elbow towards the knee. And when you've tried that several times, begin little by little growing it into just a little bit of movement first, and then letting that go completely into the floor. And then next time, drawing the elbow a little more towards the knee. And staying with the experience completely. So it's not just about experiencing how your knee and elbow come together, but experiencing how they come apart and how do you let yourself rest again into the floor. So often the value of these exercises is as much in how do we let go? How do we surrender back into the floor, into a rest period, into our lunch break, into our bed at night? Reveals as much about how we're living our day as all the doings that we accomplish during the day. So it's wonderful to notice if you've been in the act of doing your knee and elbow towards each other. And feeling the different things that can happen in the ribs as you play with different variations. Resting when you need to. And instead of thinking about taking your elbow to different places of your knee, why don't you think this time about bringing your knee to different points on your elbow? What does that change in your pelvis and hip, in the support of your right leg and your back? And again, where is the fullness of the breath in the abdomen? Do you tend to draw your elbow and knee towards each other on the inhalation? And then let yourself go into the floor on the exhalation? And try that a few times, just pacing, inhaling with your knee and your elbow together, and exhaling, resting into the floor. And simultaneously, while feeling the full organization of your body, also feeling the full inflation, the experience of the air in your lower abdomen. And let your knee down, let your elbow down, take a full rest. And listen, have you been resting as often as your body would have liked during this lesson, or could you have rested more often? And even in that noticing, then what's the internal commentary? It's easy to do too much, and it's often a pattern to overdo it and not know that you've overdone it until you've overdone it. And then what's the commentary to the self? Is it, oh great, what another wonderful learning opportunity? Or is it, oh damn, another learning opportunity? Or your own variation of those. Feeling the breath, the movements in your abdomen, in your chest, in your ribs, in your back. And again, bending your knees up. This time bringing the left knee into the left hand, the right hand behind the head. And let's switch that. I think that's what we did last time. So the right hand and the left knee, left hand behind the head. And this time as you raise your elbow and your head towards your knee, begin aiming again like we did last time. Begin aiming your knee towards different parts of your face. What is that like? Not working, but just experiencing. What feels different in my body when I aim my knee towards my chin than when I aim my knee towards my forehead? What's different if you aim your knee towards your right ear versus your left ear? Can you sense the subtle differences if you aim your knee towards your top lip or your lower lip? And what if you breathe out every time you draw your elbow and knee towards each other, and breathe in as you come back to your neutral resting place? Does that make it easier or harder than the other breathing configuration we did? Folding and unfolding. What's more interesting? Is it more interesting to attend to the folding or the unfolding? How does folding feel? Is there an emotion? When I fold my knee towards my elbow, I feel. When I open up my knee away from my elbow. When I let my knee go and I relax into the floor, I feel. Go ahead and let your leg down and rest. When I bring my attention to the awareness of my breath in my abdomen, when I bring my attention to the awareness of my ribs floating on my lungs, up and down with the inhalation and the exhalation, I feel curious, alive, sleepy, invigorated, interested. And again, bend your knees up, please. And over your chest, interlace your fingers, and then bring them together behind your head. Feeling the breath in your abdomen fully. Gently draw your elbows together and lift both elbows towards your knees. And just set your head down, open your elbows back up. And do that several times. What's it like folding and unfolding in this way? Folding and unfolding. And letting the breath stay full in the abdomen. And then keep your hands behind your head and raise one knee up over your chest. And then raise the other knee up to join it. Feeling the fullness of the breath in the abdomen. Lower one leg down to the floor and lower the other leg down, keeping your knees bent. And just play with that a few times. What's it like to lift and lower, alternating your knees? Keeping the breath full, the abdomen soft. And then raise your head up and just hold it there and continue playing with bringing one knee towards one elbow, the other knee towards the other elbow. And see if as you raise your head up, really let your elbows come together so they're not open out to the sides, but feel the difference between lifting your head with your elbows together versus keeping your elbows open and apart. It's quite a distinct difference. So what's that like? Again, not a sit-up, but an exploration of folding and unfolding. Keeping the abdomen soft. How do we fold and unfold without using our habitual sit-up patterns in our abdomen? That is the question of interest for the day. Different elbows to different knees. And just kind of rest for a minute. If you haven't rested already, just give it a break. Feel. Are you listening? Are you following your limits? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you making sure you get in every repetition that the instructor commands? My very, very, very first weekend of Feldenkrais ever, the trainer had targeted physical and occupational therapists. And he said the one thing that's really apparent that he was teaching PTs and OTs was that we never took a rest. We were going to do every repetition that was required of us. So I had a few years of undoing in my Feldenkrais training. Listening in a new way, experiencing, exploring, being curious, like a child. So again, bend your knees up, please. And bring both your knees up over your chest. Oh, wait a minute. Before you do that, keep your feet down on the floor. Interlace your fingers over your chest. And now move your fingers one finger over. We call this interlacing non-habitually, and just feel that. Now go back to the way you first interlace, so that's your habitual way, and really feel feel the stimulation on your brain, on your nervous system, on all your senses. And then shift and really feel what that shift feels like, what awakens in your senses when you do it, quote, wrong, the non-habitual way. And keeping them non-habitually interlaced, bring them behind your head, please. Feel the breath in your lower belly. Bring both of your knees over your chest if you're able, and just let your feet float there in the air. See if you can just kind of find a way to let them rest there. And then drawing your elbows together and lifting your head. Begin playing a few times, just keeping both knees and elbows in the air. Play with drawing your right elbow towards your right knee and your left elbow towards your left knee, and just kind of going side to side very gently in this way. Noticing what has to happen in the pelvis, the ribs on your side. So staying on the same side, right elbow to right knee, left elbow to left knee. What happens? And how's your breathing? How's your jaw? Rest when you need to. And everybody go ahead and take a rest. But stay in the configuration, if you can. Hands behind your head, knees bent. Feeling your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Is there a moment where all of you could fold, where you could just easily and effortlessly just lift your feet, your knees and your elbow towards each other, folding, and just as easily, softly in your abdomen, unfolding back towards the floor. Folding together with one breath, unfolding into the floor. And giving yourself permission not to do this if the organization in your body isn't yet available to make this light and effortless and interesting and juicy. And feeling, how do you use the floor to just let everything come together, folding, and everything open up, unfolding. What if you were to extend this, if this is fun and easy for you, and when you unfold, you just let your arms open up and your legs lengthen. And then when you fold, you bend your elbows, draw your hands behind your head, bend your knees, and just keep folding your elbows towards your knees. And then unfolding, opening completely into the floor. Breathing, contracting and relaxing. Finding your own rhythm, your own pulse of life. That's always there. It's always there. We're just usually too busy to find it, and more importantly, to feel it. And next time you open to the floor, just stay there, legs long, arms resting, either over your head or at your sides. And feeling how much of your body is aware of the influence of the breath. The lungs expanding, deflating, lifting and lowering, the movable ribs that are floating on the ocean of your breath. And for some of you, maybe you feel the breath even beyond your abdomen, beyond your chest. Maybe you feel the movement into your shoulder joints and your hip joints, into your arms and into your legs. And bend your knees up one at a time. And just feeling the backdrop of the breath, like we did at the very beginning of the lesson. Just slowly raise one leg and place it down. And raise the other leg and place it down. And notice if there's any differences in how this leg lifts. Is it easier? Is it lighter? Is your abdomen softer or your breath fuller? Or are there no differences? Did you fail the lesson? Just joking. Just joking. And just rest again. Really bring your awareness to the breath and find a way so that your breath guides you. The movement of your breath is the guide to how you roll onto your side, how you come to sitting, how you find yourself in standing with uninterrupted flow of inhalation and exhalation. In time, walk around the room, walk around your home, staying in this internal experience of sensation, of breath, of true changes that are occurring in the neurological patterning of your movement. Take your time and enjoy your day. Thank you.